Concluding thoughts on the wipe of patch 0.12.12.30. This was a wipe that a lot of players, including myself, decided to skip. I clocked in about 300-ish raids, with that remaining 67 being playing around with the pre-wipe events. To keep things short and sweet, what was added this wipe is the RD704, which became the best weapon in the game. The G36 was added, and it's not very good. Lighthouse was expanded, however, it did not include the Lightkeeper, which is supposed to be some sort of in-game trader. The Lighthouse expansion included a small island where the lighthouse is stationed, and rooms at the water treatment plant have been added. The first ever USEC scav boss was added to the game. It is the Goons, a scav boss that travels on 4 different maps: Woods, Customs, Shoreline, and Lighthouse. Also, infrared devices have been changed so that they're invisible to the eye, but visible with night vision. And the Scar L's glowing problem from distance has been fixed. That's about it as far as need to know information. From here, I'm just going to go into more detail. So I think for a lot of people, this wipe will be considered the RD704 wipe, because since this weapon's introduction, it has been completely dominant in the game. It has made it so that 762 by 39 BP is the dominant round for the game, making rounds such as M62 seem very weak in comparison. Mainly due to the fact that BP is simply a better round, and it's being fired from a fully auto with very low recoil, when compared to the M62 gun counterparts of like the MDR and the SCAR. There's no doubt that the RD704 is quite a bit better than those weapons in terms of managing recoil. There was a question that I thought about in the offline raids of, is the Mutant better than the RD? The Mutant has a higher fire rate, but the issue with the Mutant is it has more horizontal recoil. So sometimes the weapon jumps to the right, sometimes the weapon jumps to the left. With the RD704, a lot of the recoil is vertical. So the gun goes up, and then you pull your mouse down. It's really just that simple. So due to the nature of the recoil pattern of the RD704, I believe it is a superior weapon in most combat engagements. The Mutant still is very, very good. In fact, it's been buffed this wipe. However, I believe the RD is better from a budget perspective and also from a recoil pattern perspective. The G36. I wanted to really like this gun because I have fond memories of it from going all the way back to games like Far Cry 1. But the G36 in this game, it's just not very good. I have a build here on the left that I think is the kind of best build you can do for this weapon. The unfortunate thing about it is you basically need Peacekeeper level 4 to get this barrel length and to get the 4 vents handguard. So that's max level trader reputation for a weapon that's still at the end of the day not very good. And on the right here is a build that uses the G36 sights, which I'm going to demonstrate why they're very, very bad to use in any kind of like in-game setting. Alright, so here's the G36, and I'm going to demonstrate why the G36 sights are not very good. So when you zoom in with the scope, your field of view is actually very small and the majority of your screen is metal. But when you switch sights, you're like, what is this? What am I looking at? What's going on here? I don't see anything. But if you hit it again, you'll go to the red dot. So what's actually going on here? So you go from your scope to nothing. So what's going on is if you remove this top red dot, you'll see what's happening. This original scope on it, it goes from the scope to the iron sights. So when you're in between the scope and the red dot, you're actually looking at the iron sights, which because of this, it's completely unusable in any kind of like PvP or combat situation. This is a real disaster that it doesn't bypass the iron sights. You go from scope to iron sights to red dot every time. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch to the other option. When you put this part on... Of course, you can't put it on in raid. Okay, we're back. And we swapped out the piece so that on the top we have the rail with our EOTech on it. So when you scope in, it'll go to the scope, and then it goes to the iron sights still, and then it will go to the EOTech that we put on. So it still has the same problem of wanting to go into the iron sights before going to the site we put on the rail. In terms of the G36's recoil pattern, it has a very dramatic kick up, and then it basically stops going up, and it becomes like neutral in its pattern. This one is not the greatest representation. Here's me trying to control it. Basically, you bring it down dramatically and then hold it stable. This next one is completely uncontrolled, so you can see it goes up, and then it basically stops. That's basically the feel of the recoil pattern. It's a dramatic kick up, and then it'll basically just stop going up, and then you can hold it in that position. So due to the nature of the G36's recoil pattern and also the relative ineffectiveness of M855A1, this weapon is best used in a sort of like full spray kind of setting, because when you do like small bursts, you're dealing with that opening recoil of the spray pattern. Alright, so for this next one, Strummer, we've already seen this clip. Strummer, we've seen this clip already. Take it away. Strummer, stop. Stop, please. Stop streaming. Stop it. But I thought it would be a good representation of how many shots are actually required to take someone down. This is the goons, the USEC Scav boss, and as you can see, it takes a lot of rounds of M855 to put these guys down. So this is why I think the G36 is best used as a pretty much spraying type of weapon. So it's not the best, but hey, it's a cool addition to the game. In terms of players' habits changing, a lot of people have started mounting their flashlights onto the right side of the weapon, because the combat of this game is very reliant on right shoulder peaks, and when you have it mounted on the right side of the weapon, your flashlight is more effective, as you see here. I'm going to switch it now to the left, and you can see it'll cast a shadow on the wall when you're doing a right shoulder peak. So here you can see the shadow that is being casted from the position of the flashlight. You can even see the wall is interrupting the laser, so that the laser is actually stuck on the wall instead of being shown into the next room. Switching it back to the right side, you can see that the laser is uninterrupted, and the wall on the left side of the door we're looking at is illuminated instead of having a shadow. So since they have changed IR devices, stuff like the D-ball have fallen out of favor in terms of things like flashlights. Because with the D-ball, you used to mount it on the left, so you can see that little green light if it's on, while you're using your nearly invisible laser. But since they've changed how it works, and because maps continue to get darker, players have a preference towards mounting a flashlight on the right of the weapon instead of a device like the D-ball, for example. So flashlights are currently more valuable for players than attachments such as the D-ball, which in the past was like the go-to attachment. Another thing in terms of player habits that has changed is the TAC-30 scope is out. It used to be one of the better scopes in the game, but with the return of full auto, the benefits of the TAC-30 are outweighed by the negatives, and the negatives is when you're under full auto fire or even rapid semi-auto fire, it's very difficult to maintain sight picture, whereas with the Razor, sight picture is maintained a lot easier. The Razor and the Voodoo are both a lot better for this, and because of this, the TAC-30 has fallen out of favor and is not used quite as widely as it used to. Looking at this building here, you can see the big difference in the sight picture. When we switch to the TAC-30, the whole screen, you can't even really tell what you're looking at. And the fact that that strong negative occurs at the beginning of your spray means that in engagements where you're bursting, you are at a severe disadvantage compared to your opponent if they are using like a Voodoo or a Razor while you're using a TAC-30. So the TAC-30 has fallen out of favor. Oh yeah, and I think this single-shot action weapon was added to the game, which is kind of fun. Well, less when you're missing, and when you're dealing with aim punch. Like, watch this. Boom, alright, nice. But anyways, that's probably it for me. For next wipe, I am very excited for Streets. And to finish out this video, here is me almost dying to a Gluhar guard, but getting a nice shot on him with the RD704. And you can also see my offline filming setup. One more thing for you guys. Let's check out Lighthouse, where you can now go into some of the rooms at water treatment and you can get on the roof of the water treatment buildings. I wanted to mention this earlier, but I forgot, so we're going to add it in here. Don't worry, I've also forgotten many things and details that I was planning to include, but it's okay.